Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Welcome to video 6 in my monthly series, Stampin' Up! Scrapbooking. Today, I will create a double page layout featuring brand new products from Stampin' Up's January 2025 release. I'm going to be playing with the Everyday You and Me collection and the Around It All dies. And these are all online exclusive Stampin' Up! Products. Everything I use will be listed below, along with my link to Stampin' Up! If you live in Canada and use the link, I will get a commission. If you have a local demonstrator, by all means support him or her. But if you don't and something interests you, thank you very, very much. And just so that you know, Stampin' Up! Has a fun promotion at the moment called Celebration, and it ends February 28th, 2025. Customers earn free gifts for every $75 Canadian spent or $60 US. So let's get started and see what's on my table. I matted 5 photos in advance. These are photos of my cat named Chester. I used very vanilla two-tone cardstock, a Stampin' Up! Product. It's actually part of this Everyday You and Me collection. Now this collection, the paper is sold in a few different ways. You can buy the 12 by 12 paper pack, which comes with 12 double-sided papers alone. You can also have a coordinating solid paper pack that goes with it. You can also buy the pattern paper with stickers. So again, 12 double-sided pattern papers with a 12 by 12 sticker sheet. And the third option is to buy a workshop kit, and that comes with pattern paper, coordinating solid paper, and additional embellishments. First, I showed you the papers that I selected for today's project. Now what I'm showing you is the rest of the pattern paper pack. I showed you both sides. I'm also showing you right now what I have left of the two-tone cardstock that coordinates with this collection. Those aqua blues that you see on my table, that's part of the pack as well, as is that very vanilla two-tone cardstock that I use to mat my photos. When we say two-tone cardstock, it is two-tone. One side is lighter than the other. I'm showing you my foundation page. You can see with that very vanilla cardstock on each side, I covered up that denim paper. It's glossy, so I don't like it. It was in my stash, so it's going to be completely covered up. That's what I do with paper I don't like. I use it to cover up with paper that I do like. I'm showing you the 12 by 12 sticker sheet. That's part of this Everyday You and Me collection as well, as is this stamp and die set. So I'm showing you the cover there. That's the stamps, and inside I've already put my dies. Those come in 2 different packages, but I like to put them together with a magnetic sheet inside the stamp box. Here's the other die set I mentioned. It is called Around It All dies, and it's basically 12 nesting circle dies, but they are wonky circles. And this is a brand new exclusive Stampin' Up! Online product. From my stash, I'm bringing in this vellum. It looks like newsprint, and it is a retired Stampin' Up! Product. I also have some foam, what are they? Foam alphas, I'm sorry, from Simple Stories from the Color Vibe collection. The color is Hickory. So what I'm going to do right now is cut up a bunch of pattern paper, and I'm going to put this on top of my foundation page. And I'm going to put measurements for all of this a bit later on in the process. The measurements, by the way, will be for visible page parts only, and in some cases I overlap. So keep that in mind when I'm adhering them to the page. You will get an idea of which ones are actually bigger and which ones are real size. What I'm doing right now is just adding a bit of ink to all of these page parts, and the ink I'm using is Morning Mist by VersaFine Clair. I don't make you watch all of it, but I do it to all of the page parts. And now what I want to do is show you how I'm going to move forward with this layout. So you can see I'm creating a wide border on each side of the layout. The border, the yellowish border on the right, is a little bit wider than the one on the left. Now what I want to do is find some photo mats, some double photo mats. So I'm additioning two different colors here. The lighter one is Lost Lagoon. One side, of course, of this is lighter than the other. The other one here, the darker one, is Pretty Peacock. So I'm just kind of going back and forth deciding which ones I want. And in addition to that, I have this other pattern paper and some vellum, and I want to use those papers to create some wonky circles. So off camera, you can see I matted all my photos in that Lost Lagoon, and I had one strip left. I used one 12 by 12 paper for that. So I cut that narrow strip in half and I'm slipping it into the border. And I like how I have a repetition of what I'm using for photo mats in the border. Now I am showing you the wonky circles I cut out with the pattern paper. So basically I cut out 5 wonky circles, and for each one of those I cut out a vellum layer, basically 2 circles smaller, if that makes any sense. So that's going to be part of my embellishing. What I want to do right now is just adhere these page parts to my foundation page, and then I can move forward with my embellishing. This is pretty simple. You can see basically I'm creating a wide border, and I'm going to adhere it on the left-hand side, and I'm not going to make you watch all of this either. It's pretty simple. I start by creating the borders. I adhere them. I'm very picky with my ruler, which is why I'm not going to make you watch all of this. I do the same thing on the right-hand side, and the only difference on the right-hand side is that there is that horizontal mat. So I haven't adhered my photos because I'm going to want to play around with my embellishing first, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. So for my title, using these Simple Stories Alphas, I put on wax paper, Chester, and the words "with you." My plan is to pair it with those stamped words from this Everyday You and Me stamp set. This is a Stampin' Up scrapbooking product. So the scrapbooking product stamps have bigger sentiments. They're meant for scrapbook pages. I'm also showing you with that very same stamp set, I stamped out some flowers, and you're going to see in a moment as well, I stamped out some leaves and I used the dies to cut them out. They're pretty rudimentary, but I like it. They're very simple. So now what I want to do, actually, I'm just showing you the stamps, the images on the cover there. I used a couple of the flowers and a couple of the leaves, but I want to show you the inks that I used for that. You can see it right there. I'm going to grab them right now. I used 2 different colored inks, Lost Lagoon and Wild Wheat. For the flowers, you can see I have them in 2 different colors. That's because for the darker one, I stamped once, and for the lighter one, I kind of stamped off, and that just gave me a lighter version of the first flower. For the Wild Wheat, you can see I did the very same thing, and for the leaves, I just stamped once, so those are all darker. Now, all of these colors are always listed on the back of a collection pack. That's what I'm showing you right there, but it's something I particularly love about Stampin' Up. They basically list the colors in a collection on the back of the packaging, which makes selecting inks and papers really easy. I have these flat back pearls. They are a Stampin' Up product. I don't end up using them. I have these 3 tags that I made as well with an off-white graph paper. I'm showing you the dies I use. These are dies from my stash from Tim Holtz. I also have, of course, all of those wonky circles that I showed you earlier there that I cut out using the Around It All die. So that's definitely going to be part of my embellishing. And I forget to show you, but you can see in the top right-hand corner is that 12 by 12 sticker sheet. So what I'm going to do right now is basically establish the areas where I plan to create my embellishment clusters. And I always do this with the biggest items. So in this case, it's those wonky circles there. I often do this when I want to create a simple double page layout. What I do is create embellishment clusters more or less in kitty corners. Sometimes it stays that way, and sometimes I add a hint of a third cluster, creating a visual triangle. So right now you can see in kitty corners, I have circles, 2 in the top left, 3 in the bottom right. Now I am placing my title. So I have Chester in the bottom right, and I'm just pointing out that stamp set because I do plan to stamp the words "love every moment" to pair it with the words "with you." So at this point though, I can't really get a good visual. So off camera, what I ended up doing was stamping "Love Every Moment" on a piece of scrap paper. So I just want to place it up there in the top left. I do want to stamp it. My plan anyways is to stamp it directly on the page, but I wanted to see how it would look. So right now I'm just keeping it there as a visual. Now what I'm going to do is continue with the clusters, coming in with the next biggest item. And in this case, it's the tag. I tucked two there in the bottom right. That's where I plan to do my journaling later on. I want a repetition of that in the top left, so I just tuck another one in and among those circles in the top left there. When I create embellishment clusters, I use repetition a lot, but I try to make them different. And I often do that by creating clusters in different sizes with different amounts almost of the same things, but in different sizes. I tuck in a few flowers around the word Chester there, and I'm tucking in a few leaves as well. I will end up doing the same thing there up in that top left corner as well. I'm feeling at this point in the process that I'm missing a bit of visual weight. It's just looking a little bit too airy and fluffy for me. It's like my clusters are missing something is the best way I can describe it. But at the same time, I have so many loose pieces on my desk. I feel like I have to start adhering because I have the photos that are loose, those circles that are loose, the title that's loose. So as you can see, I've moved ahead and I'm just going to adhere before I finish or continue embellishing my page. So I start with those two photos there over on the right. Now I'm coming in with the circles, tucking in the tags there. I am adhering that vellum on top of the paper, but vellum, as you know, is see-through. So I usually strategically place my adhesive so that it's covered up by other embellishments like those tags there that you see me adhering. So I continue doing this, but again, as I mentioned earlier, already I was feeling like my cluster was missing something, and soon you're going to see that starts bothering me there. So yeah, here I go. I went and grabbed my sticker sheet. I knew it was bothering me. I took a little break and I'm putting some stickers on top of this wax paper. So you can see I took two wordy bits. So they're like two long wordy bits. It says "Things to Remember" and "Pure Sweetness." And I'm thinking of maybe putting it under the word Chester, almost like a shelf. So I have it on wax paper. I'm thinking I'm liking it. I'm still feeling like I'm missing a little bit of bite here, but whatever. I'm okay with it. I place the flowers there and I end up off camera basically adhering it. So you can see I have the word Chester. I have the two wordy bits underneath. I have adhered my flowers. One of them is up on foam adhesive, and I also have my leaves. It still doesn't feel finished to me, but I am going to move over on the left-hand side. So at this point, I'm starting with the big circle because it is going underneath two of those photos. Once again, kind of placing everything. So now what I am going to do is adhere that big circle. And I was glad to have stamped out on scrap paper those words "Love Every Moment" because that actually helped me position that large circle. Now I'm adhering the photos. I started at the top, then jumped to the bottom photo, then kind of eyeballed the middle photo in between the two. Now I'm coming in with the tag and the other smaller circle there. And then what I'm going to do is come in with the flowers. Same kind of thing here. I make basically a little cluster, and I think one of them ends up on foam adhesive. One or two of them actually end up on foam adhesive. Later on, that cluster does get moved down a bit, and I will explain that later in the process. Now what I want to do is work on my title. So before adhering with you, I have to stamp, but I really want that to be straight. The color I'm using is the Pretty Peacock, so it's a bit of that darker aqua that I'm going to be using for that. Because I want it straight, what I'm doing is drawing a line in pencil, and what I'm going to do is basically position "Love Every," which is really straight, along that pencil drawn line, because this is photo polymer stamp, so I can see through it. I did it off camera just to make sure I was straight. The line is still there. I will erase it later on. I just didn't want it to smudge. And then I adhered with you underneath. Now what you see me doing is getting out a few more stickers. So I find this little tab piece that says loving this. So I tuck it up behind that focal point photo. That's the largest photo on the right. I also have hearts, two little hearts in circles. They're kind of cute. I position one right under you on the left-hand page. I decide to adhere it, pop it up on foam adhesive. I know right away I like that loving this, so I adhere it right behind my photo. And now I've got to find a spot for this other heart. I end up putting it not underneath the title, which was my original plan. I just kind of tuck it over towards the right. I'm happy with that. Now I'm just tucking a few other little flowers up by that other piece there, that little tab just above the photo, kind of creating that third cluster area, a small one, but a hint of one, creating a visual triangle. I do adhere flowers, but I end up doing it later on. At this point, I've got to decide what to do for my tag. So I found the baker's twine too thin. I have this ribbon from Stampin' Up. It's like a jute ribbon. I like the weight that the bows give, but they are too bulky. And to be perfectly honest, it's getting very late in the day, and you're going to see I come back and the lighting is completely different. This is the next day. So during the evening last night, you can see what I did with the bows. I ended up just putting two straight lines, and then I tied it with a little bow with that baker's twine, and it made it much more flat. I'm showing you that over on the left, I had to basically push the tag and embellishments down because my ribbon covered the word you. And I'm also showing you on the right, I did adhere those flowers, or one flower and leaves, above that focal point photo. And I'm also showing you, I did show you a moment ago, that one of the yellow flowers in the bottom part of the cluster, I switched it up with a blue one. Now I'm coming in with a stamp set again, and in that stamp set there are these little dots. So I'm just adding a few of them around the cluster, and I end up doing it only on the right-hand page. I'm thinking of doing it on the left, but you know what? I like the way it looks, so I'm just leaving it as is. And this is it, my finished layout. Off camera, all I did was my journaling. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Have a great day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.